Major sponsors: CCNS Kids Therapy Center, Mucho Cafe, Bubble Tea Station, Tech Zone Manila.
Good morning. You will see in our
Back
chat
Porch
box
Market,
we have an attendance form. Please kindly fill it up as you can claim your prizes
TheraBridge,
later. Thank you.
Asian Home Appliances, Himsog Eatery, Twin Tang, Little Wonders Therapy Center, Southlink Packaging and Adhesives Company, CDU MAOT would like to thank the following sponsors: Apple AirPods Manila, Carboy Car Wash, Wadab Locals, The Point Special Needs Awareness, Chris Dave Pasalubong Shop, Hannah Dang's Bills Payment Money Remittance, Major sponsors: CCNS Kids Therapy Center, Mucho Cafe, Bubble Tea Station, Tech Zone Manila, Back Porch Market, TheraBridge, Asian Home Appliances, Himsog Eatery, Twin Tang, Little Wonders Therapy Center, Southlink Packaging and Adhesives Company, CDU MAOT would like to thank the following sponsors:
Again, guys, we have it in our chat box. You can see the attendance form. Please kindly fill it up as you can claim your prizes later. Thank you.
Apple AirPods Manila, Carboy Car Wash, Wadab Locals, The Point Special Needs Awareness, Chris Dave Pasalubong Shop, Hannah Dang's Bills Payment Money Remittance, Major sponsors: CCNS Kids Therapy Center, Mucho Cafe, Bubble Tea Station, Tech Zone Manila, Back Porch Market, TheraBridge, Asian Home Appliances, Himsog Eatery, Twin Tang, Little Wonders Therapy Center, Southlink Packaging and Adhesives Company,
Okay, so before we start, let's have the house rules for today's event. Please make sure to mute your microphone and turn off your video upon entering the webinar session. Remember to be polite at all times and no spamming. If you have questions, please type in the comment section and questions will be answered at the end of the speaker's discussion. And lastly, by joining this event, you agree to participate in a webinar that is also live streamed in CDU Maot official Facebook page.
Okay, good morning everyone. A pleasant morning to everyone here. Of course, we are your hosts for today's event. I am Miss Pat.
And I am Miss Kyla. So before we start, Pat, nafe-feel mo na ba yung excitement natin for today's event? Kasi alam ko excited na yung mga participants and yung mga speakers natin to share their experience and knowledge for this webinar.
Of course, I am actually thrilled of what is in store for today. And of course, this is our very first episode for this season. Kaya sobrang excited tayong lahat. So okay guys, take a sip of your coffee, sit back and relax. And of course, let's enjoy today's webinar.
And we welcome you to anticipate and be prepared for the unexpected disasters coming through in the future with our first episode today entitled Crossing the Bridge Part 1, Disaster Preparedness.
Okay, so join us as we tackle disaster preparedness, reintegration, and holistic health and wellness in CDU Maot's webinar series entitled Onwards Together, Outweathering the Storm. By the way, guys, don't forget to fill up the attendance form for today's webinar. It can be found in the chat box sent by our tech team. This will be, of course, used for the games for later.
Okay, so this webinar will not also be possible without our respected guests. So we would like to give them a warm welcome and round of applause to each of them.
And of course, we are also live on our Facebook page, CDO Maot. Hello there to the FB Live people. Welcome.
Ayan, so welcome to those viewing our webinar through FB Live.
Okay. So before we start, Kyla?
Ayan, let's proceed now with our program. So we would like to ask everyone to be with the presence of our Lord, to be followed by the singing of National Anthem.
Dear God, thank you for the opportunity to meet together. Please help us to come together to make this institution reflect your kingdom. Breathe life into our ideas and decisions. Help us build a team that has love and respect at its heart. give us the strength to continue working for your kingdom in this time of pandemic. Lord, come give us the inspiration to be the best we can be. May we be a shining example of your goodness and truth within, wherever we are. Inspire our thoughts, discussions, and ideas, and continue to remind us that all that we do here today, all that we accomplish, is for the pursuit of truth for the greater glory of you. We ask these things in your name. Amen. Dear
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
So, ayan, excited na talaga yung lahat para sa event na to. But
Yes.
ano kaya yung objective ng webinar natin today?
Okay, for ang objectives for today's webinar, next slide please. Okay, is first, we want to educate families on how to plan for children and adults with special needs, and of course, provide ideas of how to care for them during an emergency. Second, we want to provide information on how best to prepare for disasters within families with PWDs by providing general disaster preparedness tips and best practices to inform their planning. Next, is we want to inform the communities on how to plan for the care of people with disabilities or special needs during calamities. Lastly, we want to raise disability awareness in disaster risk management among all healthcare professionals. Ayan. So ganda ng topic natin today for today's webinar.
So,
Okay.
grabe, sa isang webinar, parang ang daming matututunan talaga ng participants natin, no, Pat?
True. And we become more aware din sa anong dapat natin i-prepare. Okay? So,
Ayan.
before we formally start,
So, let's see how excited you are for today's webinar. Please comment in the chat box the following. Give us a thumbs up if you are still there or nandyan pa ba kayo kasama namin. Heart reaction if you are happy. And a smile emoji if you are excited. Yan.
And
We
of
want to see your
course.
reactions.
Meron may nag-smile
Wow. So, may
Kung
happy, may
Kung
smiley
gusto kayo
tayo
mag-shout
dito.
out, guys, go. Kung meron po yung gusto pa shout
Oo,
out.
sa mga
No
nanonood
problem.
via FB Live, you can also do shout.
Okay, so meron na si Elisa, Regina Urbina, maraming nag-heart. So,
Yun nga,
happy pa tayo,
maraming
nandito
excited
kayo.
for this event.
Yes, so marami pa. So at least alam natin nandito pa kayo, guys.
Oo. So keep your comments coming.
Oh, hello
Yan.
po from Paranaque. Hello, good morning. Okay, so before we officially start our program, ayun, may pa-GCash giveaway. So guys, ready na ba kayong manalo ng GCash? 250 pesos GCash. Okay, so now it's time for our icebreaker before ta mag-start sa ating webinar. Okay guys, this time we want to bring out your phone and please scan the QR code so that you can join this game. Make sure guys that you will input your correct name as it's our basis for the winner. No nicknames, no cute, so your official complete name. And of course, for those people who can't use their phone, it's okay because the tech team send the link here on the chat box. Okay, so we'll give you 2 minutes guys to enter and join. Remember, we will only have one winner. Okay, join na
so
kayo.
for those watching via FB Live, you can also join by going to the website or scanning the QR code. Para yan, manalo din kayo ng GCash worth 250 pesos.
Ayan, may 14 participants na. Madaming nag-heart. Okay guys, 2 minutes to join. May time
Keep
pa kayo.
joining guys, sayang yung 250.
True. Go, go, go. 17 na. Ayan, madami-dami na. Oh, so sa itong game guys, dapat pabilisan ng answer. So the faster you click, the more chances na mas malaki yung mananalo niyo. And of course, dapat yung correct answer. Okay. So, meron pa, 18 participants.
18. We have 18 participants so far. So keep coming guys and keep joining.
Yes, please scan the QR code or you can press the link sent by the tech team here in our chat box.
Ayan. So for this game, i-brief na natin yung mga participants, itong 19 participants. So with this game, they will have to identify the names of bagyo or try to recall. The more correct and faster you are, the higher the score. Yan. Question 1 out of 5.
So may 5 questions ito guys and you have only 10 seconds to guess the correct answer. But of course, dapat fast yung click nyo sa correct answer. Okay.
So galingan nyo ha.
Sayang itong 250. Ang laki na yan. Okay. Alin ang pangalan ng bagyo? First question. So, may Odette, Paulo, and Queda. Sige. Sharo ha, may marong answer pa nito.
Okay, so maraming votes si Odette, but all of the names are pangalan ng bagyo. Odette,
Yes.
Paulo, and Quedan. Yan. Sino kaya yung leaderboard
Sino
natin
kaya yung
for
winner?
this question?
Okay.
Faster si Patrice pumindot among the participants. So good luck
Bilis,
Patrice, may iba pang questions.
Okay. Question 2 of 5. Go guys, makabawi pa tayo. Same question. Alin ang pangalan ng bagyo? We have Auring, Bising, and Chrising. 10 seconds guys. Remember, the faster you type, mas malaki yung score na makukuha niyo.
Okay. So Auring, Bising, and Chrising, lahat yan pangalan ng bagyo. Okay, sino kaya yung pinakamabilis pumindot ng correct answer? Okay.
Patrice pa rin. Make sure guys, yung full and correct name nyo ang gamitin nyo ito na game, okay? Okay, third question. Alin din ang pangalan ng bagyo? Fabian, Goyo, and Juaning. Go, go, go guys!
Okay, so yung correct answers lang, Fabian and Juaning. Goyo, hindi siya pangalan ng bagyo. Ang leading natin, Okay, si Patrice pa rin.
Patrice
Wow,
pa rin. Wow, Patrice
consistent.
ha. Competitive talaga. Gusto talaga siyang manalo ng GCash. Okay, so question 4 of 5. Kapit na. Same pa rin. Alin ang pangalan ng bagyo? We have Jolina, Kiko, and Larnie. Go, guys!
Okay, so the correct answers are Jolina and Kiko. Larnie,
Jolina
hindi
and
siya
Kiko.
pangalan ng bagyo. So, si Patrice pa rin kaya yung lead natin?
Si Alisa
si
na.
Miss Alisa Aguila, yung leading natin for this game. Last question na
Last
yata.
question na to, guys. Parang alam niyo na kung anong question sa 5th question. Okay, alin ang pangalan ng bagyo? We have Bruno, Dolores, and Florante. 10 seconds.
Okay, so the correct answer is Florante. Yan. So, sino kaya yung ating final winner for the 250
Yun.
pesos GCash?
Sino makapanalo ng GCash ngayon?
Okay, so our winner is Patrice. Yan. Congrats,
Patrice!
For the winner, we have a special instruction for you. Please screenshot the proof and final score and send it to the Facebook page of CDU Maot to claim your GCash prize. So again, congratulations, Patrice!
Okay, good job, Patrice. Of course. So, na-energize na ba kayo, guys? Okay na ba yung attention nyo? Because we'll officially start our webinar. Okay, so first, let's introduce our 4 speakers for today's webinar, Day 1, Crossing the Bridge Disaster Preparedness. Okay, so the first 2 speakers are representatives from the local government unit. Our 3rd speaker is an active member of Red Cross. And lastly, our 4th speaker is an occupational therapist. Okay, so mga bigatin mga speakers natin, guys.
Okay, so before we proceed, Pat, ngayon, ayan, present na natin. Mukhang excited na talaga lahat. Simulan na natin sa first speaker natin. Our first speaker, he is a Municipal Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Officer of the Municipal Local Government Unit of Santa Fe, Province of Leyte. Let's all greet with a warm round of applause, Mr. Gamaliel Roy E. Burgos.
Good morning, everyone. Okay, do you hear me? Okay. First of all, yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. First of all, thank you very much for the organizers for inviting me for this webinar on crossing the bridges and particularly on disaster preparedness and easing back to life. Next slide, please. So I will start my presentation with the presentation of the Republic Act 10121, which is the Philippine Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Act issued last 2010. So the primary aim of the act is to strengthen the Philippine disaster risk reduction and management system of the country and to provide the framework for our disaster risk reduction and management efforts at the national level. The act also aims to institutionalize the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Plan to enable us to appropriate funds thereof and for other purposes. Now, the government created the Office of the Civil Defense, particularly to serve as the executive arm of the and the Secretariat of the NDRMC. Now, the primary mission of the OCD is to administer a comprehensive and national civil defense and disaster risk reduction and management programs so that we have a continuous development and strategic and systematic approaches and measures to reduce our vulnerabilities and risks in relations to the impending disasters in the country. Next slide, please. So this is the structure of the NDRMC. The chairperson of the NDRMC is the Secretary of the National Defense, and he is supported by 4 vice chairpersons from the different line agencies focusing on the 4 thematic areas under the NDRM framework. I will discuss to you later the 4 thematic areas of the NDRM framework. But if you would notice, the structure of the NDRMC, it is composed of the vice chairperson for disaster prevention and mitigation with the secretary of the DOST as the head, and the secretary of the DLG as the vice chairperson for disaster preparedness, and the secretary of the Department of Social Welfare and Development as the vice chairperson for response, and the Director General of the NEDA as the Vice Chairperson for Disaster Rehabilitation and Recovery. I understand our webinar for this morning will focus more on disaster preparedness. Hence, I will be digging deeper on the different mechanisms in terms of disaster preparedness later. Aside from the Vice Chairpersons of the 4 main agencies under DRRM, we also have different line agencies and government agencies, including civil organizations and private organizations, or assisting also or representing as representatives, sitting as representatives in the NDRMC council at the national level. Next slide, please. So the function of the NDRMC is cascaded actually with the mobilization of the different DRM councils across all governance levels now. At the regional level, we have 17 regional DRM councils headed by the regional director of the Office of the Civil Defense, vice chairperson also, like in the national NDRMC council, we have the DLG, the DSWD, DOST, and the NEDA, and also of the different members coming from the different agencies who were also members at the national at the NDRMC level. So the regional heads or the representatives at the regional level are either the regional executive directors, the authority heads, but which I mentioned earlier at the NDRMC level. At the provincial level, we have 81 provincial DRM councils headed by the provincial governor, and the provincial governor is ably assisted by the different heads of the different departments at the provincial level, the planning, the DRM office, the social welfare, and so on and so forth. For the cities, we have 146 C-Dream councils. The head is the local chief executive or the mayor, which is also supported by the different city department heads. So at the municipal level, moving forwards, we have 1,488 municipal DRM councils headed by the municipal mayor as the local chief executive and assisted or represented by the different heads of the different departments in the offices, one of which is the DRM office, wherein I am the head in our municipality. So aside from that, we also have different sectoral representatives and civil service organizations, including the private sectors, that sits as members in the MDRMC. In our case, in Santa Fe, since we are covered by a project by the Red Cross representative also sits as one of the members in the MDRMC. Next slide, please. So at the barangay level, we have this. We have the barangay DRM committees. So the DRM committees also is patterned to the NDRMC committee. We have the barangay chairperson as the chairperson of the BDRMC, and he or she is supported by 4 BDRMC vice chairperson. The 4 BDRMC vice chairpersons are usually the elected barangay officials and or appointed members of the BDRM Council. So if at the national level, we have the 4 government agencies manning the 4 thematic areas, at the barangay level, we have 4 subcommittees, subcommittees for prevention and mitigation, subcommittees for preparedness, subcommittee for response, and subcommittee for recovery and rehabilitation. So I would like to emphasize, because our webinar this morning is more on preparedness, under the preparedness subcommittee area, we have several focal persons. So these focal persons assist the vice chairperson for preparedness and also for response in carrying out their respective functions. We have the focal person for rapid damage and needs assessment. We have a focal person for search, rescue, and retrieval team. We have focal person for evacuation, camp management, and so on and so forth, including relief distribution. Also, in addition, under the preparedness committee, we have research and planning team, transportation team, communication and warning team, security and safety team, education team, protection team, damage control team, all of which are very important in preparing the community prior to the onset of a typhoon or other impending disasters. Next slide, please. So going back to RA 10121, RA 21 laments or presents to you the 4 thematic areas of DRM. These are disaster prevention and mitigation, disaster preparedness, disaster response, and disaster rehabilitation and recovery. So aside from this one, our National DRM framework, which was also formulated as a result of RA 10121, presents to us 3 key resource areas. The first key resource area is to reduce disaster risk. The second key resource area is to enable the community to prepare and to respond to disasters. And the last key resource area is to build back better. So for our webinar this morning, I will dig to you deeper later disaster preparedness. This particular area of our NDRM framework. So aside from the framework, as I mentioned also earlier, we have our national DRM plan. Our national DRM plan also, which covers 2011 until 2028, serves as the guide. Also at the local level, when we formulated our municipal disaster risk reduction and management plan, we anchor it on the priorities, on the objectives, on the outcomes, on the outputs, and on the activities of the NDRM plan. So dapat nakaangkla yung mga plano at the local level to the national DRM plan. Next slide, please. So allow me to give more time to explain these 4 thematic areas although I will be focusing more on disaster preparedness in consonance to the goal of our webinar this morning. But these are the 4 thematic areas that I mentioned earlier. So I'll start with the leftmost column, which is disaster rehabilitation and recovery. When we say disaster rehabilitation and recovery, the goal of this thematic area is to restore and improve the facilities and living conditions of the affected communities. So after a disaster, the group or the office of the National Disaster Risk, the National Economic and Development Authority, the NEDA, spearheads actually in conducted several government programs and PPAs to ensure that the community will be able to recover and to further rehabilitate damaged communities as a result of disasters. So some of the programs and the priority activities under disaster rehabilitation and recovery are the following. The post-disaster needs assessment. If you would notice now, after Odette, there have been substantial post-disaster needs assessment studies conducted to identify the impact of Odette. Thank you very much. Next is to review the policies and plans and to identify resettlement, the provision of new sources of livelihood. Those are the PPAs under disaster rehabilitation and recovery. Next is disaster response under the leadership of the Department of Social and Development. No, the goal is to provide life preservation and meet the basic subsistence needs of the affected populations. No, immediately after a disaster. Some of the activities are the damage assessment, evacuation, search, rescue and retrieval, relief distribution, and management of evacuation centers. Then we have the prevention and mitigation thematic area, which the goal of which is to avoid hazards and to mitigate their potential impacts by reducing vulnerabilities and exposure. The activities under these thematic areas and the programs of the government is to have an early warning system, which covers everything, including differently abled persons, forecasting and monitoring, hazard and risk mapping, structural and non-structural interventions. And lastly, on disaster preparedness, the goal is to establish and strengthen capacities of communities to anticipate, cope, and recover from the negative impacts of emergency occurrences and disasters. So these activities are the planning, prepositioning, stockpiling, and so on, including trainings and drill exercises. Across all of these thematic areas, the concerns of the vulnerable sectors should be clearly appreciated and considered, especially the differently abled persons. Next slide, please. So to be specific about the disaster preparedness thematic areas of the government, so the DILG, with the help of the NDRMC, issued this disaster preparedness manual to guide the city and municipal LGUs. So particularly in preparation for incoming typhoon. So that the manual consists of 3 checklists. Checklist for early preparedness actions for mayors, checklist for minimum critical preparedness for mayors, and also checklist for chief of police, fire marshals, and other key government officials at the municipal and city level. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So again, the focus of the checklist is to guide the end users, the LGU, on the 3 general actions. The first is to create institutionalized structures, systems, policies, and plans. Second is to build competencies, and the third is to mobilize resources. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So when I say create an institutionalized structures, the LGU should create local disaster risk reduction and management council. The LGU should create a local disaster risk reduction and management office, the incident command system, and establish response clusters, and so on. So this is the example of our organizational structure in our municipality, of our LDRMO office. This is the cover of our municipal disaster risk reduction and management plan that we formulated to cover year 2022 until 2024. And these are the goals of our DRM plan, highlighting also the goal in terms of disaster preparedness, which is to strengthen and establish and strengthen capacities of communities to anticipate, cope, and recover from the negative impacts of emergency occurrences and disasters. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So also in the manual, you will see what are the assignments for different department heads, and also what are the different support teams, that should be mobilized before an impending disaster. Next slide, please. So also part of the preparedness area is the conduct of the training. So these are the trainings that we need to conduct at the LGU level, and these are the government agencies that provide the necessary technical assistance for this particular training. So if you would notice, we have the OCD, we have the Climate Change Commission, we have the DILG, we have the DOST, and other government agencies providing trainings for the LGUs to enable the LGUs to prepare. Thank you very much. I have 5 minutes left. Next slide, please. So also the manual also give us the checklist of what to acquire. So acquiring resources for the different response cluster, para may magamit tayo in responding. Next slide, please. So the second part of the checklist is the checklist of minimum critical preparedness actions for mayor. If you would notice this diagram, the NDRMC, the DOST provides information to the DILG, and the DILG through DILG Codex transmits this information to the LGU, and the LGU should take the critical preparedness preparations based on the manual in the manual. Next slide, please. So this is the report or the picture given to us by Codex. If you would notice, no, here is the island of Leyte. No? There's a color coding. No? What are the descriptions of these colors? Now, when we say you're under, if looking on the map, no, if you are on the yellow, no, on the yellow colored part of the map, you are already on the alpha level, no. If you are on the orange colored part of the map, no, you're already on the Bravo alert level. And if you're already on the red, you're already on the alert level, Charlie. I'll explain to you later what the specific definitions of these alert levels. Next slide, please. So now the LGU upon alert should do the necessary preparedness activities based on the checklist, no? And so that we are able to attain our primary goal, which is zero casualty. Next slide, please. So these are the different chart, no, to guide the LGU what to do depending on the category one LGU is into. Earlier, I mentioned to you about the different critical preparedness colors, no, the Alpha, the Charlie, the Bravo, and the Charlie. No. When we say Alpha or the yellow minimum critical preparation color, no, the LGUs may not be affected, but the effects of an incoming typhoon may vary, no, depending on the LGU, the location of the LGU. So even if the effect of a typhoon is not that severe, no, still the LGU should do something about it. Next is the orange or the Bravo minimum critical preparation. When I say Bravo, we will not experience, no, the severe impact of a typhoon. No. However, we still mararamdaman po din natin yung bagyo. No? So we also have to make the necessary preparations. No? There are minimum differences on the diagram, no, but for the intention of ensuring that we have zero casualty at the community level. And the last, next slide, please. And the last minimum critical preparation color is code red or code Charlie. When we say code Charlie, no, we will experience the severe effects of a typhoon. So if your LGU is under the Charlie code, no, so brace for impact because the severe effects of the tropical cyclone will be experienced by the LGU. So aside from this diagram, no, to guide the LGU on what to do from step 1, letter A, until step 3, the last step, which is letter K, the manual also provides us the different reference boxes to guide the LGU, no, as the lead government agency in the preparedness thematic area. No? These are examples of the different reference boxes, no, in the manual, and also this is an example of a hazard map, which is also needed, no, for the LGU to prepare. Next slide, please. So my last slide will focus about the evacuation plan. Early on, I gave to you the government program in a nutshell, no, and the specific preparedness mechanisms, no, to be undertaken at the municipal and at the barangay level. Now, on the part of the people, no, the most important action that we should do, no, in order to avoid to attain zero casualty, no, is to evacuate. And the very vital question, no, in terms of undertaking evacuation, no, is where will we evacuate? So if you are living in a community, it is best to coordinate with your BDRMC, no? And in our municipality, we have our focal persons for evacuation and camp management, and we have assigned family for every evacuation center, no? So the first rule is to coordinate with the BDRMC and to identify your evacuation areas. No? Then second is you identify your route. You find the safest and the shortest way to the evacuation area. Again, in our municipality, we are advocating for preemptive evacuation, meaning before the rains are felt, before the winds are felt, we are encouraging or mandating people to conduct pre-entry evacuation because we don't have the resources to rescue or to pull out people when the flood waters are already high and the winds are already strong. And then the third one is to bring something when you go to the evacuation center. You bring your respective go balde and your e-bag. No? What are the go balde and the e-bag? The idea of go balde is you put all the important documents and other necessities in a pail, and then you bring that to the evacuation center. E-bag or emergency body is also the concept of e-bag is also the same. So to make sure that you have something to consume, you have food, you have water, to consume for the next 3 months when you are in the evacuation center. So I think that will be all. Thank you very much again. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and I'm glad to provide answers to some of your queries. Good morning.
So, thank you for your insights, Sir Gamaliel Burgos. Yan. I learned from your discussion na yung pag-prepare talaga, it starts with the national level and then it goes down to regional, to specific local areas talaga to prepare for disaster. And aside from that, madaming kailangan i-consider like yung safest route to go, lalo na kapag mag-evacuate, yun po. So,
yes.
Aside from that po, sir, meron tayong mga question from our audience. So, here's our first question. They would like to know what considerations have you made in the past in terms of disaster preparedness for people with disabilities, both young and old?
Yeah, I will be sharing to you our experience in our municipality. We attend the regular meetings of the DAP, to explain to them what are the evacuation procedure. That's number one. Second is during our BDRMC meeting, we have our focal person for evacuation and camp management, and we explain to them to prioritize members of the vulnerable sectors, one of which are the DAP. And then the third is we also in our BDRMC we also have the communications and focal and warning focal person, wherein I encourage them to adjust their modes of communication to ensure that warnings are properly received and communicated to all the members of the community, particularly to the members of the staff. For example, if you have visually impaired member of the community, so we identify body systems in the barangay to assist that person. If you have a person who can't hear, we suggested that the BDRMC will print out the warning for them to read. So these are some of our initiatives to ensure that all the members of the community will know the effects and what to do because in DRRM the idea should be inclusive, so no one also is left behind in terms of DRRM. So we have to consider all of this one, and those are some of our initiatives at the municipal level.
So thank you for hearing about your insights po, lalo na for people with disabilities na usually nale-left out, especially on times of a disaster. So we have another question here from our participant. Can you give us a top 3 to always keep in mind as professionals or family member who handle PWDs in terms of disaster risk management?
Okay. We are still commencing on our strategies in terms of PWD, but as I said earlier, number one, we have to communicate to the BDRMC if you have a member of the PWD, because the BDRMC also maintains a database, a database of our brothers and sisters under that category. So that's number one. You have to communicate if you are a family member with a PWD member. You have to communicate to the BDRMC that you have one in the family that needs assistance. Second is you have to make sure that the necessities of that person are always ready. Like for example, nebulizers, if he needs one, food, special food, water, no, etc. That should be part of your EBAL day and go bag, no. And the third is we encourage also families to explain to the members of the family that who is under that category of PWD and adapt that there's a need actually to evacuate because of the risk of an incoming disasters. I'm saying this one because we also encountered there is a member of the community which is a PWD who refused to be evacuated, and we have no choice but to pull him out because it's really the location of their house is located in a flood-prone area, and we can compromise the safety of the family. So I think that three would help. If your family, if one of the members of your family is under that PWD sector. So inform the barangay, you prepare the materials that they need, and to explain to them that they need to evacuate for his or her safety and for the safety of the family.
So thank you for that, Mr. Burgos. We have our one last question for you. As head of the MDRRM, do you have any suggestions to improve community preparedness in the municipality level?
Yes, I also failed to mention earlier that in the BDRMC, one of the members of the BDRMC, meaning the Barangay Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Committee, is the sectoral representative of the PWD and the DAP. So some of our BDRMC, we have active members of the DAP or the PWD. They are part of the meeting. They are part of the planning preparation. So in the SGLG, when we say SGLG, Seal of Good Local Governance Checklist by the DLG, it is one of the area that they are looking if the BDRMC are represented by the different members of the vulnerable sectors, one of which are the PWD and the DAP. So we have members who are actually attending meetings in wheelchairs. We have members who are physically with disabilities and differently able, and they are part of the planning process, in the community.
So thank you po, Sir Burgos, for every knowledge and experience you have shared with us, from preparing or knowing the preparedness from the national, local, regional, and specific LGU units when it comes to disasters, and yung insights nyo po with PWDs.
If I may add, I forgot to add, aside from what I mentioned earlier about DAP, increasing awareness of the community is also very critical, because your neighbors actually will help the DAP in going to the evacuation centers. It's the community actually helping members of the community who are physically disabled to go to the evacuation center, to embrace them when they are crying, when they are hearing the winds and rainfall. So also that also will be critical. And also in some LGUs, there are also NGOs who are working with the DAP in terms of disaster preparedness. Here in our municipality, we have a special community wherein all the occupants or yung lahat ng nakatira ng subdivision na yan are from the DAP and the PW sectors. Nandun po sila lahat, and they are also safe in that village. Thank you very much.
So thank you for that, Sir Burgos. Before we wrap up our first speaker, we are here to present the certificate to Mr. Gamaliel Roy E. Burgos for sharing their expertise on the webinar series Spotlight Season 3, Onwards Together, Outweathering the Storm, episode Crossing the Bridge, Disaster Preparedness, held on March 26, 2022 via Zoom. And so before we say our goodbye to Sir Burgos, may we ask you, sir, to take a picture with your certificate po. So our tech team will take the picture po. So ako na lang po mag-count siguro. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. Smile, sir. Okay. Yan. Okay, I think we're good na po, Sir Burgos. So, thank you for your presence today sa webinar namin, and sure po maraming natutunan yung mga participants natin from you.
Thank you din po. My pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so tapos tayo sa first speaker. So grabe yung insights na binigay ni sir, no, about being inclusive, always communicate, and of course the necessities that must be ready in terms of any disaster calamities that might happen. Diba, Kayla? Okay, so
So again, before we proceed, please don't forget to fill up the attendance form so that you can claim your prizes, and don't forget that we still have another game break later. So sa mga hindi nanalo, may chance pa kayong manalo later.
marami pang chance. So don't you worry, guys. Okay. So, okay na ba tayo? Okay pa yung attention natin? Because now we are off to our second speaker. She is a nurse by profession from Santa Fe, Leyte. Let us all please welcome Miss Blanche Dagalago, RN, LPT, MAN. Take it away, Miss Blanche.
Hi, good morning. Hello? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
Okay, good morning. First of all, I would like to introduce first my full name, Pamela Blanche Daga Lago. So I have two names. Okay. So I would like also to thank for inviting me here to talk. Okay. Next slide, please. So what are the objectives, or what I'm going to discuss on this? Learn the brief profile and its preventive measures of LGU Santa Fe during disaster, identify the most common injuries, identify the different support programs for the PWDs and senior citizens of LGU Santa Fe. Okay, next please. So before that, I'm going to give a brief profile of our town, because one of the considerations when planning disaster preparedness is the location. So this is our location. Next, please. This is our map. So Santa Fe is an agro-industrial hub. So we are not located in a coastal area. So we are not prone to storm surge, but we have flood-prone areas because we are surrounded by rice fields. So one of our vision is disaster resilient environment. That's one of our we envision to be a disaster resilient. So next, please. Santa Fe is bounded in the east of Palo, so we are nearby Palo, Alang-Alang, Pastrana, and Tacloban. In the north side it is Tacloban. Next, please. So I based my discussion on the 5 elements of disaster preparedness. One is prevention. So what is prevention? When you say prevention, you stop the incident from happening. What do we do here in Santa Fe is we give information dissemination. We go to the barangays, and then we adopt the executive order from the province. One example is during COVID. So nung COVID, may ginagawa yung province, then we adapt it here in our municipal. provide SB resolution and ordinances. Conduct meetings. We conduct meetings because the mayor call the department heads to have meetings. Next, please. Next is mitigation. When you say mitigation, prevents emergency from happening. What is that? Example of which is we do zoning. When you say zoning, we do that during COVID. We do that during COVID. So we build isolation facilities to every barangays and one isolation facility for the municipality. Establish barriers. Why do we have to establish barriers during emergencies? To prevent it from spreading. Another example is the COVID. Number 2, next please. Next please. Preparedness. So preparedness, what is preparedness? Community's ability to respond to disaster. When you say preparedness, one of which is the trainings. The training. So in trainings for how do we prepare when COVID number increases. So that's the trainings. As Sir Gamaliel Burgos is our head in MDRR, we plan and prepare together with them. Trainings of personnel, leakages, where do we go if ganito ang mangyari, ano ang dapat gawin. So what national agencies are we going to ask if we do this, if we do that? Kung ganito ang mangyari sa bayan natin, ano ang gagawin? Saan tayo pupunta? Sino ang dapat hingan ng tulong? Test capabilities. Example is that the drill, fire drill, earthquake drill, to test our capabilities. But most of us, we don't we don't take it seriously. But tama dapat yon. Mga drills dapat ginagawang serious yon because it is how do we to test our capabilities. Next, response. When you say response, it is to prevent the vulnerable groups, immunocompromised or competent from acquiring the diseases. Example again is the COVID. So ano ang ating gagawin before, during, and after disaster? Example is nagka-COVID. So to the close contact, para hindi mag-spread, we have to isolate. So dapat yun ang gagawin. But after that, example naman sa after the disaster, emergency rescue. After typhoon. So emergency rescue, ano ang nangyari? Ano ang dapat gawin? Sino ang isi-search? May namatay ba? May nasugatan? So search and rescue. May nalunod sa baha? So yun ang dapat gawin. Emergency and rescue. That's response. Sino ang dapat pumunta sa evacuation centers? That's before. But according to Sir Burgos, we do preemptive evacuation. Okay, next please. The recovery. We help the community return back to normal. Ano ang mga ginagawa? Doon pumapasok ang ayuda. The LGU nagpe-prepare, may naka-prepare na yon ng mga relief goods. That's the only that we can provide during after disaster, the recovery. And kung ano pa ang dapat na mahingan ng tulong from the national government. Next, please. The most common injuries or the most common diseases that occur during or after disaster. Respiratory tract infections. Respiratory tract infections are the most common. Children and senior citizens mostly are affected with the respiratory tract infection, the colds and cough and colds. Next is the trauma injury. The most common trauma injuries are lacerated wound and punctured wound if after disaster. But even not disaster, these are the punctured wound and lacerated wound are the most common because we are in surrounded by rice field. Most of the farmers sometimes are injured. Skin and skin structure infections. These are common to children. Hypertension are common to old senior citizens. But nowadays, hypertension is also can be seen from 20 years old and above. We have a program with those 60 years old and above with hypertension and diabetes mellitus. We call them the PhilPen group. We have a organization with that for those senior citizens with hypertension and diabetes mellitus. Number 5 is diarrheal diseases. Diarrheal diseases are common to children, especially after disaster, due to unsafe water drinking. Sometimes after typhoon, hindi malinis yung tubig. So no other sources, or since there's no electricity, so ang nangyayari, iinom na lang what's available. But the Department of Health, we have the chlorine for water, so nilalagyan doon, then you can drink the water safely. Next, please. Okay, thank you. Government support programs. What are the government support programs with persons with disabilities? Here in our municipality, I asked this to the Department of Social Welfare and Development because they handled the persons with disabilities. They issued the PWD IDs to get their privileges. They refer the persons with disabilities to the region office to avail assistive devices, and also to the provincial office. National Disability Prevention and Rehabilitation Month celebration, they celebrate this July. So what do? That before they have got talent. So all persons with abilities can perform or showcase their talents. Next, please. For senior citizens, they have social pension to indigent senior citizens. The social pension given to indigent senior citizen to help them buy their maintenance medicines. Although the municipal health office has a free maintenance medicines, but are only limited. They also have birthday regalo. All senior citizens were given birthday regalo of 500 pesos. So every year. Issuance of senior citizen ID and death aid. Death aid, if one of the senior citizens died, the family can have an aid. Next, please. Post-COVID. So before the start of COVID, financial assistance was given to the persons who got COVID. They were given 5,000, but of course, for the limited budget, it was cut off. Only few were given 5,000 or the financial assistance. But the Department of Social Welfare and Development, the post-COVID or the persons who got COVID were given relief goods. We don't give post-COVID any goods, but during COVID, they were given everyday meal. So when they are admitted in the isolation facility, binibigyan sila ng pagkain every day until they got out from the isolation facility. So if you have question, we cannot stop natural disaster, but we can arm ourselves with knowledge so many lives wouldn't have to be lost if there was enough disaster preparedness. So thank you and Godspeed. If you have questions, you may ask.
Wow, yes. Thank you so much, Miss Pamela, for that wonderful knowledge. Of course, marami talagang mga programs ang prepare talaga yung government and of course sa ating mga PWDs din. Okay, Miss, we have your first question here. Our participants are curious on how different do you manage people with disability cases in terms of medical assistance during times of crisis, such as typhoon or COVID?
Okay. Before we have one person with disabilities na nagka-COVID. She was admitted in our village with persons with disabilities, and she was given assistance like food, meal every day. She was given meal until na makalabas siya from her quarantine. Yun ang ginagawa namin ka-COVID. And the medical assistance, if nagkasakit siya or we referred them to higher facility for kung ano man ang need niya. We refer them to higher facility.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. We have another question. How many times a year do you recommend institutions to do disaster drills?
Every year we do disaster drills in coordination with the municipal, with the MDRR. And every year, just last month we do earthquake drill. Just last month in barangays, not just in our LGU or in our municipal office, but we also have drills in barangays with the help of the MDRR.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So we don't have any more questions. So time for our presentation of certificate. So this certificate is awarded to Ms. Pamela Blanche Dagalago, RN, LPT, MAN, for sharing their expertise on the webinar series Spotlight Season 3, Onwards Together, Outweathering the Storm episode, Crossing the Bridge Disaster Preparedness, held on March 26, 2022 via Zoom. Okay, ma'am, so it's time for your picture taking. Okay, ready, smile. 1, 2, 3.
Smile.
Smile.
Thank you.
Smile. Okay. Thank you so much, Miss Pamela, for that wonderful knowledge and experience that you shared with us today. Thank you.
Thank you too.
Okay.
So, sa mga hindi nanalo kaninang first game, meron ba tayong another game break for you to
Another
win?
game break.
250 pesos GCash. Yan. For this game, we only have one winner. So, katulad kanina, bring out your phone and join us with go to the site and scan the QR code here to join this game break. Yan. So you only have 1 minute to join. We only have 1 participant pa lang. So join pa kayo guys, yung kanina
Check
mga
pa
hindi
kayo, guys.
nanalo.
True. And make sure yung correct name yung ilagay nyo for the Mentimeter. Okay? Kinabawi tayo, guys. We have 43 seconds to join. Don't you worry, may link sa chat box if hindi kayo makascan sa phone.
So for this game break, the participants will guess what the slides are describing. So we will be talking about the signal of the typhoons and other trivias related to it. Yan.
Check
So
natin
hindi lang
kung
siya basta signal kung gaano rin
Oo.
kalakas.
malalaman natin dito kung sino talaga yung aware or yun, about sa signal. So sa FB Live din, go guys, sali na kayo. Hello there.
Yes. Yan. Pwede din kayo mag-join yung mga nanonood via FB Live. Yan. Para manalo din kayo ng 250 pesos na GCash. So
Yes.
magko-close na tayo. Yan.
17
So we have final
participants.
17 participants here.
Okay. Okay, ready na ta guys?
So for this game break, we have 3 questions. So for the question 1, yan. So pabilisan ulit pumindot, basta tama. The weather disturbance is expected in 18 hours. Ano kaya to? Signal number 1, 2, 3, or 4?
Ano kaya to guys? Time's up. It's signal number 3. If the weather disturbance is expected in 18 hours, signal number 3. Isa lang nakakorrect. Mostly nag-signal number 1. Okay, sino kaya ang winner? Si AIDS lang. Okay, congratulations AIDS. May 2 questions pa tayo guys. Pwede pa tayo makabawi.
For the second question, again, answer fast to get more points. The weather disturbance is expected in 24 hours.
Signal number 1, 2, 3, 4. Ano kaya guys? Ayan, signal number 2 yung correct answer. Let's see kung sino na ang naka-lead score. Si AIDS pa rin. Okay. Last question.
Okay, last question na. Makabawi sana yung iba. The weather disturbance is expected in 12 hours. Ano kaya to? Signal number 1, 2, 3, or 4? Yan, sayang yung 250 pesos. So, bilisan yung pagpindot.
Signal number 4 yung correct answer. Let's see kung sino yung nakapanalo ngayon. Wow, congratulations AIDS! You won this second game break. Again, please screenshot this and send it to the official Maot page of CPU sa FB. Thank you AIDS! Congrats!
Yan, congrats, AIDS! Yan.
Okay.
Grabe.
And good job guys. So don't
So,
forget.
congrats sa mga nanalo natin for the first and second game break.
So don't you worry guys, may raffle later. So may chance pa kayo to win. And also don't forget, there's also a day 2 event titled Crossing the Bridge Part 2 Easing Back to Life tomorrow, March 27 at 9 a.m. here via Zoom and of course sa Facebook Live.
Yeah.
So
So sa mga di pa nanalo sa games natin, abangan nyo lang bukas. Meron din silang pa-games. So pwede pa kayong
kabawi
manalo.
pa rin kayo tomorrow.
Yan.
So far, madami na yung knowledge natin and awareness about disaster preparedness and sa mga government support programs na prepare talaga during crisis.
Yeah. Marami tayo natutunan, lalo na from a viewpoint from someone in the DRRM and from the viewpoint ng isang nurse. who is
True.
also has a role sa DRRM. So, this time, ano kaya yung third speaker natin, Pat?
Okay, so time for a third speaker. He is a licensed physical therapist at kakayanan.org, Bachelor of Science in Physical Therapy, University of Santo Tomas 2019, volunteer emergency responder since 2013, served under the Philippine Red Cross and other private volunteer groups, currently serving as a volunteer emergency responder at the Fire Emergency Paramedics Assistance Group. Let's give it up for Mr. John Aldwin T. Aspiras, EMT PTRP.
Hello, good morning. For a while lang. There. All right. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, good morning, everyone. The Philippines is no stranger to disasters. Typhoons come and go, earthquakes happen, fire incidents are a common sight. Volcanoes seem to erupt in every generation. These are but a few of the many calamities we Filipinos face and endure. The new reality is upon us. Disasters are getting more severe, both in scale and in scope. So the question is, are you ready? So again, good morning, everyone. I am John Aldwin T. Aspiras. I am a volunteer emergency medical technician and a licensed physical therapist. So just a little background about me. Okay, so what are we going to learn about today? So our webinar, this webinar by the CDU MAOT is primarily focused on the PWD inclusive disaster preparedness. So I will be discussing to you, sharing my knowledge and expertise to you on how to prepare the family, building your own survival or emergency kits, hands-only CPR, and basic first aid. So you may be wondering, why PWD inclusive disaster preparedness? So in a study by a group of students from the BS Occupational Therapy program of the De La Salle Health Sciences Institute College of Rehabilitation Sciences, they have found out that there is a lack of consistent approach towards helping PWDs in preparing for typhoons, such as uneven distribution of resources, lack of personal education, and lack of professionals whose main concerns are PWDs. So this study was conducted in 2015. Fast forward today, it's already 2022, and we have actually seen a lot of improvements in terms of inclusivity of PWDs in disaster preparedness and response. But still, it is somehow evident that there is still a lack of consistency with the newer approaches they're currently doing. All right. So how do I prepare my family, or should you prepare your family? So these are 4 basic steps on how you should be able to prepare your family for the coming disasters. So first of all, you should do your research. So it incorporates familiarizing yourself with the risks that could occur in your community. Next is preparing your home. So you should coordinate with your family members, build a protocol or make a protocol on what you will be doing during an emergency. Also, when you are preparing for disasters, it is important that you pack an emergency kit that would last for a minimum of 72 hours, containing food, water, supplies, and other important stuff that you should be carrying or easy to carry. And lastly, still, this is part of doing your research, so you should stay informed. So you may contact your LGU to find out how it will be able to share alerts or instructions during an emergency. So first, let's focus on doing your research. In doing your research, if you are someone new to the area, you could actually ask around with your neighbors on, or you could search around the web on what recent disasters or what are the usual calamities that happen in your area. Or you could actually go to your nearest barangay halls and ask the people from the LGU if on the risks or hazards that are actually present in your community. In doing your research, here are some resources that you could actually access. So first of all, this is the new website of Project NOAA. If you're familiar, this used to be a part of the DOST, and now it is the University of the Philippines who is currently maintaining the site. Project NOAA is a hazard assessment. I mean, it's a hazard map that shows your flood hazard level, landslide hazard level, and storm surge hazard level. So, and as you can see here, the location I have pinned is the Cebu Doctors University. So these red, orange, and yellow areas that are marked in the map, these are the prone areas for storm surge and flood hazards. As you can see here, the location of CDU itself is actually low in terms of flood hazard. Landslide hazard is also low since it seems to be a flat area, and storm surge hazard level is also low since it's very far from the coastline. But that doesn't mean that since it is all low, this is true for let's say today. Of course, as I have mentioned earlier, disasters are getting more and more severe. So in any time, this could change. The probability of flooding, the probability of storm surge could change anytime. Next, this is another resource from the FIVOX. This is the fault finder. As you can see here, this is a view of current fault lines that are studied by the FIVOX. So these black lines are potentially active faults, and these red lines that you can see are certain. These are certain active faults. Another resource that you could look into is the bagongpag-asa.dost.gov.ph, or basically the new website of Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical, and Astronomical Services Administration. So you can see here everything that you need to see for your local daily weather needs. Okay. So still part of doing your research and preparing your homes. So first of all, you need to plan ahead. So it is very important that you prepare for your family specific needs. If you have household members that are PWDs, so you need to make sure that you have prepared their assistive devices. You need to make sure that your home has emergency exits, which will be easy to access with your household members who are PWDs. If you have relatives or household members that have medical conditions, you need to prepare their medications and documentation or proof that they have actually such medical conditions. You should also include your disaster preparedness plans if you have workplaces, and if your children's schools do have disaster preparedness plans. Okay, you should integrate it with your own family plan. Next, you should secure your home. So if you have damaged parts in your house, you should fix them, secure easily damaged areas and items such as fragile windows, fragile furniture. Ensure kits, your emergency kits and exit points are easily accessible to all family members, whether abled or differently abled. And if the need to evacuate arises, you should shut down utilities. So you should, as much as possible, don't leave behind the live wires or leaking faucets. Turn off your gas tanks to ensure that there would be no further danger when you leave your homes. Next, you should know where to go. So first of all, you should locate your nearest evacuation area. I am sure that your LGUs, oftentimes when there are coming typhoons or disasters, your LGUs always keep the public informed where to go in case they needed to evacuate. But of course, plans sometimes do not go always according to what you really have prepared for. So you should set alternate routes in case your way to your nearest evacuation area gets blocked. And excuse me, you should create reunification plans in the event that your family members get separated. So let's say there's a disaster that happened and you are in your home, some of your household members are at work or at school. Create a reunification plan. So let's say, where will we meet in case we get separated? Where, how long should we wait, etc. Lastly, you should maintain communication. So keep a handy list of ICE, or in case of emergency, contact numbers. And lastly, you should keep your devices fully charged. So if your phones are running low on battery, make sure you have them charged so that your family members or friends or any important contacts could easily contact you and you could easily request for help. So here are some tips that are available on the NOAA website on what to do during during disasters such as flooding, landslide, and storm surges. So of course, when you know that there is a coming disaster, as what is mentioned by our previous speakers, it is important that when they will announce a preemptive evacuation, to lessen the risks and chances of casualties and injuries, it is better to actually evacuate, since since you never really know what to expect. So during and basically landslide and storm surges, you should be prepared to evacuate at a moment's notice. During flooding, refrain from walking through floodwater, especially without protecting yourself, like wearing boots or wearing raincoats. And do not walk or drive through moving water, because of course you are not sure with whatever things are there floating with the flood water. You aren't even sure if there's a live wire or the water is grounded. Then lastly, turn off all your utilities. For landslides, basically it's the same. You should be able to listen to emergency information and alerts, and have your survival kit ready and accessible. And then if you're caught during a landslide debris, if you can move fast and seek safer grounds, um, do so, and try to make a noise to alert rescuers. So if you, it is better to carry whistles, since you need to conserve your oxygen so that you can be able to breathe properly. Shouting consumes more oxygen rather than using a whistle. And aside from that, whistles are more audible rather than shouting. Lastly, after a landslide, listen to authorities and find out if it is safe to return. And also stay away from power lines if they're damaged. For storm surges, it's the same. You should have your kit ready and accessible and listen for information and alerts. For fire, it's basically the same. In earthquake, make sure that your go bags or emergency bags are prepared and you should know where to evacuate. For fire, make sure that you actually know how to use fire alarms um, to alert everyone if there is a fire. Avoid as much as possible storing flammable materials. And if you don't have access to fire extinguishers, you could use a wet blanket to suppress a small fire, or sand. Do not try to use water if let's say there's a burning substance in your kitchen, as it will make the fire spread more easily. If ever you catch fire, you should do these 3 simple steps. You stop, drop, and roll. So stop whatever you're doing, drop to the ground, and roll alternately to stop the fire from spreading to your clothes. And if there is smoke in your area, make sure that you have a wet towel to cover your nose, and stay low. Crawl, because smoke tends to rise upward. And and oxygen often stays at the lower ground, so you can move safely. For earthquakes, stop whatever you're doing and seek cover as much as possible. So drop cover and hold on until the shaking stops. And whenever the shaking has stopped already, seek your nearest exit points. Use the stairs as much as possible. Do not use elevators. How about for persons with disabilities who are using wheelchairs? So if ever you are caught with the earthquake, first lock your drive wheels, and then if you have something to cover your head, a hard object, make sure to cover your head and your nape. If you could cover your upper back, it's better. And hold on. So you would be, if you're able to, you could use one hand to actually hold for the object and another hand to hold onto your wheelchair to make sure that you wouldn't fall. How about if you're with a person with a disability, if you're together, let's say I am the one pushing my relative on a wheelchair, you should prioritize protecting yourself first. Because if you're injured, the chances are you wouldn't be able to help others since you're injured. Building a survival kit. Next, so it is important, first of all, that you have access to food and water. So make sure that your water is at least 1 gallon per person. So let's say if you are four in the family, 4 gallons for the entire family. Food, basically non-perishable items and like cans or dry foods that are easy to eat, easy to prepare. You need also a flashlight or a light source, your first aid kit, which also includes medications and other medicinal items. For sanitation and personal hygiene, this also includes a clean set of clothes. And then one of the most important things to put in your emergency kit is yes, thank you. I have 5 minutes left. Okay, copies of personal documents, then cell phone with chargers, family, emergency contact information, extra cash, and of course, emergency blankets so that you will be able to cover yourself when you are in the evacuation center. So for CPR, next is CPR. So CPR or cardiopulmonary resuscitation is an emergency life-saving procedure performed when the heart stops beating. So the latest update for the 2020 American Heart Association guidelines, they've advocated for the use of hands-only CPR for the layperson. It is proven that it is found out that hands-only CPR actually increases the chances of survival rather than trying to attempt a mouth-to-mouth and CPR. So CPR keeps the blood flow active, even partially, and extends the opportunity for a successful resuscitation once a trained medical staff arrive on site. So make sure you to perform CPR, you clasp your hands together, and your dominant hand should be the one under in contact with the breastbone in the middle. Push hard and fast as much as possible. And next is first aid. So this is the immediate help provided to a sick and injured until professional medical help arrives. So basically it sustains life, it prevents suffering, prevents secondary complications, promotes speedy recovery, and prepare for further medical treatment. It is by no means a replacement for medical treatment. So in building your first aid kit, it is important that you have an alcohol, povidone iodine, cotton pads or rolls to apply your betadine or povidone iodine, adhesive bandage strips, sterile gauze pads, and medical tapes to cover your wounds, clean gloves so that you wouldn't be in contact with the blood of another person, scissors to cut these gauze pads, tweezers or forceps to effectively apply alcohol and betadine, rolled elastic bandages could be a substitute to medical tapes, and of course, over-the-counter medications. Okay, so in managing wounds, so there are lots of types of wounds. I would like to apologize for the graphic picture. So closed wounds basically means the skin is intact and the damage lies below the surface. Open wound means the skin is broken. So in minor open wounds, use a barrier between your hands and wounds, and apply antiseptic solution or antibiotic ointment if available in a spiral manner, starting from the wound center going to the surrounding area, Apply direct pressure. If it's slightly bleeding, cover with sterile dressing and wash hands after providing care. For major open wounds or massive bleeding, it is important that you call your local emergency hotline and try to protect yourself from the blood first and control bleeding. Monitor the injured person's vitals, have them rest comfortably, and wash hands immediately after giving care. This acronym, Peace and Love, is a guide for musculoskeletal injuries and minor injuries. This is the new protocol. And as before, we usually use the RICE or rest, ice, compress, and elevate. So this is the newer and updated one. And of course, avoid harm, heat, alcohol. So avoid alcoholic beverages as it impedes wound healing. Avoid running and avoid massage. So of course, it is important that you get trained. There are lots of facilities available to be able to get to train CPR and first aid. So here are two of the many. So this is from the Philippine Heart Association, Learn CPR, and Philippine Red Cross. You could also get trained there with CPR and first aid. Here are some of the available DRRM resources online, as you can see here in the website. And these are my references. And some parting words before I end my presentation. As they always say, ligtas ang may alam. Thank you very much and have a good day.
Wow, thank you so much, Sir John, for that very wonderful and comprehensive discussion. Marami talagang natutunan ang ating mga participants today, and we can be more prepared, of course, and be more aware if any disasters or anything that we may encounter. So thank you so much, sir. So it's time for our Q&A. We have our first question. If I am living with a PWD or a child with disability, what step should be the priority in terms of taking action?
In terms of taking action, first of all, when you are caught with the disaster already, it is important that you should be able to protect yourself first. Kasi when you are already injured, that reduces your chance of being an effective help to your relative or to your family member who is actually a PWD. So PWDs can so in planning kasi PWD, so your PWDs can actually plan too if they are able. So you should be able to include them with planning. What more can I add? Can you repeat the question again, please?
Yes, sir. If I am living with a PWD or child with a disability, what step should be the priority in terms of taking action?
Okay, so first I have mentioned safety. Next, so your inclusivity in planning. So make sure you include the PWD. Then next, after your own safety and the safety of the PWD, prioritize packing whatever they need, whatever they would require. So if they use special equipment, if they have medications, and supporting documents such as identification, medical abstract, if it is available, important documents that should be needed to be packed. You could actually give a separate bag to PWDs that they will be able to, if they can carry it around with them, it is better. Kasi once they get lost, at least they have their own emergency bag with them that they would be able to use when the need arises.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Next question. What other alternative can we use besides whistle?
Besides
Whistle.
whistle? Okay,
Yes.
besides whistle, when you are trying to attract attention, so let's say the disaster happened in the middle of the night where it is dark, it is very dark, electricity has gone out, you could use flashlight, or you could create a fire. So the smoke that rises from the fire could actually be a, okay, there is someone here in the area that needs rescuing. or if it is actually available to you, if you have access to it, signal flares is a good option.
Okay, so thank you, sir. Next is how to know if our CPR is working.
How to know if your CPR is working? Okay. Eh, okay. How to know if your CPR is working? You should be able to push hard, deep actually, to estimate the depth of the force you are applying. It should be around 2 inches. So it is like you are squishing a meat. So let's say you are or squishing two pillows. So if you are able to squish two pillows near the surface of your bed or of your mat, that is actually an ample I'm just trying to give you a comparison para mas ma-imagine niyo siya ng mas maayos. Excuse me. So two pillows. So use two pillows, then try to push it hard and fast. If you're able to push those two pillows deep that you almost feel the surface of the bed or the mat, that is actually the depth that you need to do in pushing when performing CPR. Pero it is better if you could get trained. Kasi there are actually institutions, so aside from the Philippine Heart Association and the Philippine Red Cross, there are other institutions and even LGUs there are some LGUs actually provide free training, CPR and first aid. So when your LGU or when you have access to those free training programs, grab the opportunity. It would be useful.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. So for our last
Oh,
question,
Sir John.
we usually gather information from the news. So what do you suggest people do right after hearing the news? For example, an eruption of Taal.
Okay, for example, the eruption of Taal. Um, when it is actually hard na you go together with the eruption. Most likely people will panic. That's for sure. It is easy to say that do not panic, but when the disaster is already there, sometimes medyo hindi mo na rin makokontrol yung sarili mo. But first of all, you need to be calm, because when you're calm, you would be able to think effectively of the next steps. So hearing the news, for example, the eruption of Taal, if you are in a safe area, it would be better to stay at home, because the ash fall is actually detrimental to your health when it comes in contact with your skin. When you inhale it evacuating immediately would do more harm than good if you are in a safe area. But of course, the government actually provides warnings early on. Just this morning, FIVOX has already raised the alert level to alert level 3 for Taal volcano. There is already a magmatic unrest yet again. So if you are already out, so once you have heard the news, you should be already prepared to evacuate at a moment's notice. Don't wait. If the alert is raised to level 4, I believe that evacuation is already necessary.
Okay, thank you so much, sir, for that
Thank
very
you so much po,
comprehensive.
Sir John.
You're
Yes.
welcome po.
Okay, sir. So before we end our discussion, we would like to award you with a certificate to Mr. John Aldwin Aspiras, PTRP, for sharing their expertise on the webinar series Spotlight Season 3, Onwards Together, Outweathering the Storm, episode Crossing the Bridge, Disaster Preparedness, held on March 26, 2022 via Zoom. So we have your picture taking, sir. Okay, ready?
1, 2, 3, smile.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sir John. Thank you.
You're welcome po.
Ayan. So we are done with our first, second, and third speaker. Yan. So yung insights, ang dami nating narinig from a municipal DRRM officer, from a nurse, and from the third speaker, Sir John, who is also an
So,
emergency volunteer or
true.
responder.
So
So,
ngayon,
ayun,
mas alam
iba-iba
na
yung
natin.
insights nila, no, regarding disaster. Pero, iisa lang din yung role and palagi nilang sinasabi na let us all be prepared, and yung inclusion with the people with disabilities, no?
True.
Pat?
And communication talaga with, with the friends, families. Kasi very important talaga yan because sabi nila not all people have the means to communicate directly. So yung talaga, means of communication is very important during calamities.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So, reminder to everyone here, there is a feedback form that will be sent here in our chat box. So please do fill it up, as we will be giving certificates of participation for this. So, ayan, please fill it out yung feedback form natin sa chat box. So, we are down to our last speaker. So our last speaker is an occupational therapist working from Kindred at Home. So let's meet Mr. Daniel Pagsisihan, OTRP, OTRL. And to add lang, before we start with our fourth speaker, birthday din po ng ating fourth speaker today. So let's greet our fourth speaker. A happy birthday po with the comments and comments din from FB Live participants. So happy birthday po, Sir Daniel.
Thank you for sharing your time here, Sir Daniel. Happy birthday.
Thank you very much to everyone. It's my honor to really share my knowledge, to help everybody. First of all, I'm Daniel Pagsisihan, graduated occupational therapy in University of Perpetual Health Binyan, Laguna. I practiced years of being an occupational therapist in some of the hospitals, south part of the metro, Medical Center Muntinlupa, Asian Hospital and Medical Center. Lastly, I took the job in University of Perpetual Health, Delta, as an occupational therapist and part-time professor, clinical instructor too. So right now, I'll be sharing my experience here. Basically, I'm here in the United States, in Alabama, working as an occupational therapist for a home health setting. Like what I said, I'll be sharing what occupational therapy do in times of pandemic. Basically, the COVID-19, which started more or less 2 years ago. So, like in any other settings, home health setting here is mostly a geriatric patients. I see more of people on a older age group. So the main role of occupational therapy, I'm here for so long now. I'm still surprised learning, how cultural differences affect a lot of profession, especially an occupational therapist. So here, unlike in the Philippines, we always have somebody, uh, core family member to help people with disability or any sick member of the family. Here on my practice now, most of the patients I see lives alone in their house. So the main role we play as an occupational therapist here is we help them regain their prior level of function, increase their independence on activities of daily living, and just the basic instrumental activities of daily living. When I say basic, it's usually the just the needed light meal preparation, those ready meal, and then of course they need to be able to at least have an access or be able to do their laundry. um, they need to stay on a safe environment, at least not to contact any more than what they have, or any infections. Um, uh, we need to really ensure their safety. The basic one, just going to the bathroom and back. If they can't have full shower, at least be able to do a sponge bath. And when I said assist with referrals, uh, you know, you need to be able to direct them to government provided, funded agencies. We have here uh, some agencies that you could contact, uh, to help the patient with acquiring their adaptive devices, durable medical equipments, assistive devices. We also have the community organizations that provides meal. They call it Meals on Wheels. So you know, just make sure all the available resources for the patient. Next slide, please. So what are the requirements when COVID arises? Different organization, different companies provided uh, their their members, with different protocols, but all of us follow one protocol, which comes from the Center for Disease Control Prevention. So it depends on the level of COVID cases. I remember when we reach the highest alert, we have to really don like a full PPE when seeing patients. So like what we're doing in the Philippines, we wear face shield, mask, gloves, gowns, and foot protection too. So of course, we're required to be immunized. I took those COVID shots, and just a few weeks ago, I had my boosters. And then every day before we start seeing patient, we have a uh, 6 items questionnaire where you attest that you don't have any symptoms, you didn't travel um, outside the United States, you don't have, your temperature is normal, you haven't seen any doctors. So something like that you have to attest, just to make sure you're not carrying any virus to your patient. You don't have COVID. Next slide, please. So uh, when we take patients, when we see patients, usually the referrals coming from the doctors, hospitals, some skilled nursing facilities, or inpatient rehab. Uh, so what I've seen is like COVID-19 really has a different effect on different individual, but mostly it's more of the shortness of breath, poor cardiovascular response to exertions. When I say that, it's their O2 sat level was really low, dropping low. If they don't use their oxygen supplements, other patient complaints of fatigue, generalized weakness, and others. Some research have said, I've seen that too. They They present with neurologic deficits, some mimicking uh, Guillain-Barré syndrome. Some have sensory deficit. I've seen some uh, who lost some sensorium on their distal parts of their appendages, their body. So, like what I said, different person might have a different presentation. Next slide, please. So, in goal setting, you know, you have to identify really what's the sign and symptoms, and you have to correlate it on your goal. Like for example, if it's more of like shortness of breath, so breathing treatment is more of your priority. If it's more of the low activity tolerance and endurance, and then you have to prioritize that. Of course, you have to also consider their current living situation. Like what I said, most of them doesn't have any caregiver. So if they don't have any caregiver, make sure uh, you have you have they're really qualified to stay home by themselves. The usual part, evaluation for occupational therapy, you know, you have to know what durable medical equipments they required. If you have any suggestions on their, home environment, having uh, and a good entrance and exit, like, if they need ramps, if they need anything to be able to stay home, bedside commode for those who can't walk yet, and then you have to assess too if they have any comorbidities. We've been talking about PWD, person with disabilities, the whole day, and there those are the people who are really who needs to be. You have to really know their current function to be able to help them recover from COVID. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, like what I said, we take our admission and referrals from hospitals, skilled nursing facilities, inpatient rehabilitations, and their doctors. So in my organization, what we do is uh, we have an admitting nurse, and then whatever's the quarantine period they require, we follow from the CDC. We follow that, and then after that, a week or so, the rest of the home health team will go. So the first few days or week, the nurses will do telehealth just to make sure they're okay, they don't need anything else. And then after, like what I said, the quarantine period is done, the rest of the home health team will go. Uh, Physical therapists, occupational therapists, home health aide, and then we have the RNs too. Next slide, please. Okay, management and discharge. It's easy. So you have to improve patients' breathing. Here, uh, occupational therapists are the one in charge with the oxygen supplement weaning. So occupational therapists need to know the patient's uh, current function. Sometimes what I do, like, I'll take their supplement 1 hour on, and then I'll ask them to put it after an hour. So, every time you see them, you try to see their O2 supplement level, so you could remove the supplement from the patient. If the patient have low tolerance and endurance, you could do some deep breathing exercises, do the incentive spirometer, and of course, you have to know their medicine. There's those medicine that don't affect that affect those vital signs. Like for example, beta blockers. Even if you do exercises, 100 repetitions, your pulse to your heart rate will still stay the same. So make sure you know that if you're really trying to monitor everything. Next slide, please. Like what I said, if you need to increase their tolerance and endurance, that's when we do those resistive exercise that we have. Arm bike, TheraBands, weight, and again, focus more on time and repetitions. And of course, all exercises are required to be gradated. And like what I said earlier, training for them to be able to be independent again on ADLs and IADLs. If they need to use any special or adaptive devices, durable medical equipments. In case of patients who have caregivers, you have to provide the caregiver education and training too. And lastly, safety. Occupational therapy really know how to do that. Fall prevention, energy conservation. So you really have to focus on that before you discharge the patient. Next slide, please. Okay. When to discharge? If you met all the goals, if the patient already gained their prior level of function, if you think that the patient can safely and independently do ADLs, and lastly, of course, not all patient would progress as much as we wanted to. So you have to also know when they reach their maximum rehabilitation potential. I have the most interesting patients I've seen is this one patient took me almost half a year to work with. She started using oxygen after the COVID, 5 liter, the most you can have on that home concentrator. Then, after working with her, right now she's not using it anymore. So, it's kind of like success story for everyone that I shared with patient who had COVID who just been referred to us. Next slide. Okay. I hope I've shared enough for you to be able to know how we practice it here, and hopefully adapt it in the Philippines too.
So thank you for that wonderful insight, Sir Daniel. So we truly appreciate our role as occupational therapists, especially in the post-COVID care, because of what you have shared to us. So ayun, bumabalik talaga tayo dun sa goal natin na independence for our patients, na common goals natin as occupational therapists. So we have some questions for you, Sir Daniel, from our audience. Yan. So the first question is, what advice can you give to occupational therapists who would want to get into post-COVID management and setting?
Well, for me, the best thing, the best advice I could give is, prepare yourself first. If the company, if the organization required immunization, you have to take it, and you have to know, how how to handle personal protective equipment. They provide it here, so you really have to, know how to use it. Um, we are required to be fitted with N95 mask. So make sure, it's properly fitted, or your effort to put it on would just be put to waste. So I think those are. And of course, stay healthy. I'm trying, but of course, having a good body will give you a sound mind. So in any profession, I think that's what we need.
Okay. So, aside from taking care of our patients, siyempre kasama din po doon yung pagte-take care sa sarili natin through the PPEs that we should know na mapoprotect tayo while handling patients with COVID. Another question, sir, from our audience is that, has there been a COVID patient who refused OT rehab where you work? If so, what are the common reasons for this and how did you handle this?
Yeah, I have some of those patient, but very few. First reason why they refuse occupational therapy is that they just don't know what occupational therapy is. Of course, uh, it's hard. To be. It's hard to even here. It's hard to advocate what occupational therapist is all about. Most of the patient, they know physical therapists. When they went in the hospital, they have respiratory therapists, but they never imagined that those people who are training them to do transfers in their bathroom, and inside the rooms are occupational therapists. At first, like what I said, when you call them, they're gonna refuse. But then when you try to explain to them what your profession are, to especially those people who doesn't have somebody to care for them, they're gonna realize, they need us more, than anybody else. So it's just how you explain it to the patient, uh, you know. But yeah, to answer the first question, I had uh, those type of patients to deal with.
Okay. So, may ganun po talaga tayong mga patients, no, na na-encounter sa work. Yung hindi talaga pakilala yung profession natin as occupational therapist. Madalas talaga physical therapy yung hinahanap nila, lalo na sa rehab. So, with that, sir, follow-up question. So, how do you think you can advocate for the role of an OT in post-COVID care? Last question na po to, sir.
Well, now it's not really hard to advocate our profession. It's mahirap nung una when this COVID started, but now that everybody is uh, learning that occupational therapists are the ones really dealing, with cardiopulmonary patient, aside from respiratory therapists, even doctors, even primary care physicians, before they send those patients home, they already know what occupational therapist is all about. So, uh, to advocate more, yeah, I would do this 1,000 times if you need to advocate what occupational therapists really are. And maraming salamat sa pagbate.
Okay, yan. So let's wrap up with our mini Q&A, and we would like to present to you the certificate. This certificate is awarded to Daniel Pagsisihan, OTRP, OTRL, for sharing their expertise on the webinar series Spotlight Season 3, Onwards Together, Outweathering the Storm, episode Crossing the Bridge, Disaster Preparedness, held on March 26, 2022 via Zoom. So before we say our goodbye to you, Sir Daniel, may we ask for a picture taking with your certificate?
Yeah, one more. If you need me, just let me know. I'll be happy to do this again.
Okay po. Thank you po, sir, for your generous time to lend us, especially ngayon po birthday nyo.
No problem.
Okay. So, picture taking po, I'll be the one to count. Okay. So, 1, 2, 3.
Smile. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir
Okay.
Daniel. Happy birthday.
Thank you po. Happy birthday again.
Okay, so tapos na tayo sa ating lahat ng 4 speakers natin. So, ang dami tayong natutunan ngayon and we have more awareness na. Grabe no, yung mga topics nila each.
Yes, lalo na dun sa part natin as occupational therapy since mas natuto tayo dun sa role natin on handling post-COVID patients. Pero bago tayo magtapos, I hope our participants stayed with us until the end because we still have
True.
our raffle draw.
Okay, so
Yan.
for the most exciting part na guys, alam kong you are looking forward for this raffle kasi thank you to our sponsors for making this possible at ang ganda-ganda ng ating mga prizes. So again, we would like to remind you that you must fill up the attendance form as it's our basis so that you can claim the prizes. Okay, so for our fourth winner sa raffle, you will win 1 Euphoria candle. Third place winner is 1 Mucho certificate. Second place winner is 3 bubble tea station vouchers. So, talagang mag-enjoy ka talaga sa BTS for 3 times.
Yes.
Grabe. First winner, of course, is 500 Gcash. And of course, the grand prize is from Tech Zone Manila, AirPods Gen Z. Okay.
So sa mga di nanalo kanina, may chance ulit kayong manalo dito sa ating raffle.
Yeah. Make sure guys, by the way, sa raffle, you will only have 10 seconds for you to respond here via Zoom or FB. We have our tech team who can check on the comment section. Okay guys, 10 seconds lang para mag-respond. And if walang response after that, we'll go to the next winner. Okay, so ready na ba yung wheel ng raffle? Okay, ayan ng mga names. So, excited na ba lahat? Okay, so for our 4th place winner, draw the wheel.
Sino kaya yung maswerteng mananalo for our 4th place? 1 Euphoria candle belongs to Miss Cheyenne M. Puerto. Congratulations!
Okay, Miss Cheyenne, you have 10 seconds to respond here sa Zoom or sa FB Live. Miss Cheyenne M. Puerto. Nag-respond na ba?
May response ba from Miss Cheyenne? From FB Live
Sayang
or
Euphoria
here?
candle.
Oo, sayang nga. Pero if wala, ayan, more chance for the other participants to win.
Okay, so next winner na tayo for 1 Euphoria candle. Sino kaya?
Okay. So
Miss
our
Hannah
winner,
Shane.
Hannah Shane. Are you
So,
here?
For 4th place, 1 Euphoria candle. 10 seconds po para mag-respond. Miss Hannah, nag-respond na ba siya sa here or sa FB Live? Sayang yung mga prizes, guys.
Okay, so hanap ulit tayo ng another winner for the 4th prize.
Okay. Oh, Miss Jessa Kabading, congratulations. Sana may mag-respond na. Miss Jessa Kabading, you have 10 seconds to respond here on Zoom or FB. Kapag friend nyo to guys, sabihin nyo siya na mag-respond dito kasi sayang yung prize.
Oo. Naku, lalo na pag grand prize pa yung Hindi siya nakapag-respond for
Hindi siya
later.
nakapag-respond.
Sayang.
So,
I
wala.
think wala.
Okay. More chances of winning sa iba na nandito, na nag-aabang. Okay guys. So meron na nag-respond na pala si Miss Chayan Imperto but naka-private lang yung message niya. Okay. So again, congratulations Miss Chayan Imperto for winning 1 Euphoria candle. And please DM the official Maot page of CDU so that you can claim your prize there. Okay, for the next winner, 3rd place.
We have 1 Mucho certificate.
Okay. Sorry, Miss Jovila. Nag-respond na pala si Miss Cheyan. Okay. Next winner.
Miss Kazel Yanilio for our 3rd prize. Please respond within 10 seconds to claim.
You can just private message, guys. The tech team will check on the messages.
Okay. So Miss Kazel, since nag-respond siya, congrats on winning the Mucho certificate.
Okay, next. Second place winner is tatlong bubble tea station voucher. So it's either you can share with your friends or iubos mo lahat yung tatlong voucher. Okay, congrats Miss Cheryl Noble Franca. You have 10 seconds to respond via your FB or Zoom live. Malapit na sa grand prize. Okay, let's wait for the confirmation from our tech team.
Okay, so Miss Cheryl, since you responded, ayan, you are the winner of our 3 bubble tea station voucher. Yan.
Okay,
So pwede mong
palapit
solohin or i-share sa
I-share
mga
mo.
friends kung kanino mo gusto. Since 3 yung vouchers na napanalunan mo. Congrats, Miss Cheryl. Ayan, papalapit na tayo sa grand
Palapit
prize,
na.
Pat.
First place winner ng 500 Gcash.
Ayan, 500, grabe.
Ang laki. Sana all
Parang
makapanalo
ilang
dito.
kape yung mabibili ko dyan.
True, ilang mine ang ma-check out mo sa Shopee.
Yun nga.
Sino
Yan. Sino
kaya ang
yung
maswerte?
maswerteng nila lang dito?
Sayang hindi ka maka-respond.
Okay, so congrats. Gerald Kengseng.
10 seconds.
You have 10 seconds to respond.
Hintay lang tayo ng confirmation from the tech team.
Ayan. So since nag-respond si Gerald Kengseng, congrats. You are the winner of the 500 pesos worth of GCash.
Wow, ang swerte ni Gerald.
Ayan na. Papalapit. Grand prize na.
Grand prize na. AirPods,
Nararamdaman mo na ba
guys.
excitement?
Sana din ako makapanalo.
Oo, sana nag-join din tayo. Kung pwede lang, pero hindi pwede.
Okay, so for the grand prize is AirPods by TechZone Manila. So let's see kung sino ang nakaswerte ngayon. Yung hindi inakala na maka-AirPods pala siya.
Oo. Sino kaya yung maswerteng nilalang? Okay. So si Michelle Jin Kengseng. Yan. Siya yung grand prize winner. 10 seconds to respond.
Hintay tayo ng confirmation from the tech team. Same sila ng family name yung nakapanalo din ng 500 Gcash. Okay. Ay, Apple AirPods Manila pala, hindi Texo. Thank you, Shay. So, waiting pa rin sa confirmation ng tech team. Okay na yung 10 seconds, no?
Wait muna namin yung confirmation from the tech team.
Okay, so, well, hindi siya nag-respond. So, let's roll the wheel again.
Oo, sayang. AirPods
Sayang,
to.
AirPods to. Okay, sino kaya ang susunod na swerte? Miss Jonalyn May Rioma. Congratulations for winning the grand prize. 10 seconds to respond. Here's a
So,
Zoom
wait
or
ulit
FB
namin
Live.
yung tech team to confirm yung response nung nanalo.
Yes. Wow, swerte ni Rioma ha. Nakuha talaga ng grand prize. Waiting lang ng confirmation from the tech team. So, sa mga hindi nakapanalo, don't you worry guys. May day 2 bukas. So, may chance pa kayong bumawi. At maswertehan. Okay, so waiting pa rin. Sayang naman kapag hindi ito makuha.
Ayan. So, Miss Jonalyn.
Abang na abang na yung iba, naghihintay.
Oo, marami ding nag-aabang nung AirPods. So,
True. So, I think
Hello, nag-respond po ako kay Michelle Kensing.
hello?
hello, si Miss Marilu yata ay nagsabi. Nag-respond for Miss Michelle Kengseng.
Para to sa AirPods, right?
Confirm lang po namin dun sa tech.
Sa tech team, yes. Okay. So, congratulations, Miss Kenseng. Ikaw yung nanalo ng grand prize na AirPods. So, please
So,
PM
congrats.
CDU Maot page sa FB para you can communicate with them para sa pag-send ng details mo. Thank you.
Okay, so congrats sa ating mga winners.
True, ang
Yan,
swerte.
grabe yung mga
Sayang
prizes
naman.
for today's webinar. Grabe, today pa lang yan, pero yung mga prizes, ang
Bonggang-bongga na.
bongga-bongga talaga. Yan. So, with that, please take note that we will have another webinar which is tomorrow, March 27 with our Crossing the Bridge Day 2 with the same time, 9 a.m. So part 2 siya, easing back to life. It will tackle more and be in-depth about the role of occupational therapists in the post-COVID and DRRM.
So, may chance pa kayo to bawi guys sa mga raffle and prizes. And of course, we still have other webinars also. For April 2, we have Wonders of Wellness for a Healthier You. And April 3, Feel at Home, Meeting your child's needs within your home. So again, we want you guys to fill up the feedback form for us. This is our basis for giving the certificate of participation. Okay, so marami na tayong natutunan, di ba guys? Ang ganda ng mga binigay na perspective yung each speaker. So, before we formally end, it's time for our official picture taking. So, give us your biggest smile, guys, for a picture taking. I hope kayong lahat ang mag-on ng camera. Huwag kayong mahiya. Okay, so let's turn on our cameras. And the
So
tech
kindly
team
turn
will
on your cameras and give us your biggest smile for today's
smile.
event.
Yung tech team ang bahala sa picture. So always smile lang, guys. Okay, dami-dami na nag-on. I hope everyone also, others can also turn on their cameras as well. Hello, everyone. Okay, sa assign mag-picture, pwede na tayo mag-start. Okay, smile. Okay, they're slowly turning on pa yung iba. Sige, let's give them time. Okay, so let's picture na, guys. Ready? Give us your biggest smile. Ready? 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Especially sa mga nag-turn on ng cameras nila. Nice to see you all.
Okay, yan. So,
okay.
We're finally in the last part of our program. So, we would like to express our gratitude to the participants who attended our event today, both in the Zoom and in the Facebook Live. So, thank you to all of those who attended and participated sa ating mga questions and mga raffle draws and mini games. We are grateful to your presence and we hope that you learned a lot from this webinar. Don't worry, we have a lot in store for you in the coming days.
Yeah, so finally, we are at the end of our program for day 1. Thank you so much for staying till the end. And of course,
so, congrats sa mga nanalo. Di ba, Pat? Parang ang swerte talaga nila ngayong araw.
all our winners. And of course, ang dami talaga early and this webinar. We would thank all the people behind the scenes for all the
Welcome to Season 3 with Spotlight. Onwards together, outweathering the storm. We'd like to thank our sponsors
for making this event successful. So
CCS Kids Therapy Center, Mucho Cafe, Bubble Tea Station, Tech Zone Manila, Back Porch Market, Therabridge, Asian Home Appliances, Himsilk Eatery, Twin Tang,